Whatever's going on between their ears, the vision that they're having, they're not visualizing. It's happening to them. That's why the pineal gland is called the third eye, because it's a profound vision. My interest in explaining this mystical science of the pineal gland is really thinking of the pineal gland as the brain's radio receiver. It can only be activated through a certain process. And we have the most beautiful brain scans to show that we're seeing a trend. That when a person begins to take their attention off of everything material, three-dimensional reality, a narrow focus on matter, a divergent focus, and they begin to broaden their focus, they begin to open their focus and create what's called a divergent focus. When they do that properly, the act of opening their awareness and putting their attention on nothing begins to suppress this thinking brain and slow brain waves down into alpha, but not just any kind of alpha, very organized, coherent alpha. And now we're seeing the beauty of when they really can just allow their body to rest and almost fall asleep and keep their mind awake. There's this door, there's this opening. And when they silence the activity in the neocortex, they get beyond their analytical mind, their thinking brain, that memory bank of the known self. And if you're in theta, there's very little brain activity there, so you're aware, you're kind of conscious in your subconscious mind. Now we start to see very profound patterns where theta levels, and even delta now, become the primary frequency in the brain. And not just a little theta, not just a lot of theta, like a lot of theta. And when you see that way outside of normal, we now know what's about to happen. We now know in the next instant there's going to be an arousal. And now the sympathetic nervous system switches on when you feel pain, when you feel fear, and when you feel anger or aggression. And it's mostly survival stuff. But when this latent system switches on and the sympathetic nervous system switches on, the arousal that's created is energy moving from the body right up into the brain. And when that gate at the brainstem called the thalamic gate opens up, and that energy rushes all the way up into the pineal gland. The moment that happens, the brain goes into what's called gamma brainwave patterns. Now, the amount of gamma that we're measuring is not a lot, not a real lot, not a super amount of a lot, extraordinary amounts, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of standard deviations outside of normal. The amount of coherent gamma in the brain in that moment is a sign the person's having a very subjective experience that we're measuring objectively. They're having a full-on sensory experience without their senses. And whatever's going on between their ears, the vision that they're having, they're not visualizing. It's happening to them. In other words, if your senses were heightened by 25% right now, everything you were seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, if your senses were heightened, your awareness of everything around you would be heightened. And awareness is consciousness. You can't have consciousness without energy. So now, all of a sudden, the energy in the brain goes way up. And the person now is literally in a whole nother world. They're in another dimension. That's why the pineal gland is called the third eye, because it's a profound vision. Once the autonomic nervous system switches on and it goes into gamma brainwave patterns, that radio receiver has tiny little calcite crystals, stacked rhombohedrons that are on top of each other. And those crystals begin to shimmer. They begin to oscillate. And now the radio receiver is activated. And now all you got to do is keep this this mechanism suppressed and tune into frequencies. And all those frequencies carry information. And when the brain latches on to a frequency, the pineal gland acts as a transducer. And a transducer is no different than a TV antenna that takes one form of energy, frequency, and turns it into, or transduces it into imagery. And the pineal gland begins to release upgraded versions of melatonin. Melatonin already causes us to dream, but now, you're going to really dream. It already causes us to relax. But now you're going to make a benzodiazepine. You are going to chill way out. You are no longer going to be in survival. Melatonin is already an antioxidant, but you're going to make two of the most powerful antioxidants known to man. Anti-cancer, anti-aging, anti-heart disease, anti-stroke, anti-neurodegenerative, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial. 2 molecules. Release the same chemical in the brain that hibernating animals produce. No sex drive, no appetite, no preoccupation with the outer environment. That means you move out of survival, the body goes into stasis. The body can dream for as long as you want. And now, all of a sudden, you start to release the same chemical found in electric eels. What is that? The nervous system is going to become electrically activated. The amplitudes of energy are going to go up in the brain. There's going to be a profound firing. And then you make that one amazing chemical called dimethyltryptamine. And that begins to switch on. And what happens is you no longer move through space to experience time. You move through times and you experience dimensions or spaces. And the biggest lie that we've ever been told is that we're linear beings living a linear life. We are dimensional beings living a dimensional life. And when we activate this latent system, the information that's being translated into profound imagery, that experience, that rich experience enriches the brain. Now you're laying down circuits for something that has nothing to do with the material world, and that experience produces an emotion, but the emotion is not going to be guilt or shame or unworthiness or fear. The emotion is going to be ecstasy or bliss. And the stronger the emotion you feel, the more you're going to be paying attention to those pictures in your mind. And literally, you're going to begin to rewire your brain for the mystical. And when you open your eyes and you come back to your senses, you're going to see a broader spectrum of reality. You're going to begin to see what has always existed, but you didn't have the circuits in place to experience them, because we don't see things how they are. We see things how we are. So now the person all of a sudden opens their eyes and, I've had this happen. You see colors and light like you've never seen before. You hear. Everything's melodious. Everything's unified. It's the smell, the taste, the feeling of everything is just enhanced. And when you have that experience and you begin to perceive in a whole different way and you connect it to that intelligence, you will see that energy, that intelligence in every human being and everything around you, and you'll feel more connected and less separate. And I think that's why we're here.
Please engage with this video by liking, commenting, and sharing. Subscribe to stay updated. For more amazing content, check out our next video.